when I was pregnant, I was homeless. Told myself if I ever get in a position where I can do more, I can be more to someone else that, may have gone through what I gone through. I kind of put that on my shoulder as being like my guide to continue doing the work that I'm doing. It's been difficult. Ain't nobody else gonna do it for me. So I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna let anybody stop me from doing this and that and this all at the same time. I'm gonna get it the way I know how. You have to be a little delusional in order to embark on, something that people are telling you that is impossible. And that's how success comes to be. I can't do this work forever. And at some point, I wanna leave a legacy where our babies can be the next generation to take over something and see what their parents are doing and do that.
Don't start with, what am I getting out of this? I have this gift, I didn't earn it. It was given to me. How can I share? And when you lead that way with not what can I get out of it, but what can I give, it'll come back around. Movements don't sustain themselves, people do. Sometimes leadership shows up in the streets, sometimes it shows up in the boardrooms, and sometimes it shows up in coalitions that bring everyone together. Shaudé Moore has spent years organizing, advocating, and building power across all three. If you've ever wondered how leadership can move across movements, neighborhoods, and institutions without losing its values, then this episode's for you. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Carlos. Thank you for having me.
As people that might not know you, if you can introduce them to your folks. I know you have like 37 titles, but if you can share with the world who you are and the organizations that you represent.
So a little bit about who I am. I'm actually a unicorn. So I wasn't born in Seattle. I'm a transplant from the Midwest. So I was born in East St. Louis, Illinois. Came to Seattle.
Out to East St. Louis.
618. I came here when I was 7 years old with a single mom on Greyhound. And just pretty much we started over. Was raised in South King, so Federal Way, Renton, Kent area. We initially just found ground in Federal Way, graduated from Decatur High School, class of '08. And just got immersed in community right away, did a lot of leadership activations or activities in high school, public speaking, and then that kind of took root. And then I ended up having my daughter at 20. And then started working in contract security. From contract security, I met people that were in the security industry, that were in community and were, born and raised in Seattle. That got me plugged into the Seattle Martin Luther King Jr. organizing coalition work that I do. And then from there, did security for a couple years, then got plugged into the Black Employee Network side on Ben and kind of been repping that for 9+ years. And then with the work I do, not only in Ben and in MLK, that brought way to the Central District Community Preservation and Development Authority, which is the McKinney Center. The McKinney Center is the asset. So the building on 23rd and Jackson, which was formerly SOYC SVI. The CDCPDA took that over back in 2020 through House Bill 1918 and now has physical oversight of that asset. And just kind of been moving ever since.
I love that. And that was a lot. And I've had a pleasure to be along with you with a lot of that journey. I think probably since about 2020 or so. So the latter half, basically I got to benefit from all the greatness and work that you already did in places that you were, and we were able to work in community together.
Yeah.
And I always like to start with the story of what got you to this couch of your earliest elite collective and or Carlos Imani memory.
So you got me to this couch first and foremost, just by way of conversation, and kind of, it's really amazing to see how this project has rooted in so many different ways and the different branches that you've created with your organization. I think we crossed paths, probably about 5 years ago. And that was really just within the PDA, you guys coming down, providing some support for some of the things that we were doing to try to get word back to the community. And since then, it's really just been, what else do y'all got going next and how can we partner? So that is what got me here.
I love that. And I love the what it say. I always go back to this earlier conversation we had with Michelle Lang Raymond from On Stage, and she had mentioned our names in rooms we weren't in, and she had mentioned, I'm like, what made you do that, or what allowed you to do that? And she was like, you're vouchable. And it was just very matter of fact, and it was just like, okay, cool, expand. And she was like, no, you just always do what you say you're gonna do. Say, and you follow through. And if I say you're going to do something, I don't have any fear of you making me look stupid.
Right.
And
right.
I think there's so much of that, of just like, man, just, upskill, add on to your resume, always be the best version of yourself, or try to steady do that. And then when those opportunities arise, you have those relationships and people can lean on you, and it goes both ways. Like, you can't just be like, oh man, why don't you hook me up?
Yeah.
Or why don't you put me in that position or whatever? Like, are you doing the work? Like, are you vouchable?
Right.
And I love to see the work that you guys have done and the different folks that you work with. And then, whenever you guys call on us, like, hey, I think I have something for you. And it's very intentional. And I very much so appreciate how you move like that. Like, you want to work with folks in community. And, and it's also I value your authenticity and candor when it's like, you guys need to level up in this area, or, can we see some more in this area, and then we can circle back and make that happen. And it's always like a pathway to that destination, not like I'm not fooling with you. Right. And I appreciate that a lot as well. So wanted to kind of go into first off of like, what kind of first kind of started that spark in commitment to advocacy and organizing. I feel like you always had kind of a plan of like, I'm gonna do this because it's gonna do 3 steps later. But what kind of got that going?
Well, my main inspiration has just been family, right, and faith, and I harness that a lot in a lot of professional conversations as well. Where I'm asked, where did you start? Where did you begin? And again, I talked a little bit earlier about having my daughter at a young age, and when I had her, when I was pregnant, I was homeless. And I was homeless for 6 months. It was like during the second trimester for me. And I had somebody who I worked with take me in, and I was able to sleep on the couch. From there, I got my own place. I mean, I really went through the trenches then to really figure out, okay, this is what I want to do. I was also in school. So I was going to school for my undergrad, which is in social services. And in that, I just knew I have a love for people, right? I want to be immersed in community. I want to volunteer so much where, I'm going into a room and like you said, it speaks for itself, or I speak for myself, right? I've had those relationships with a lot of people that I've just been in network with. But having my daughter and just realizing that this is not what I wanted at that time. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. I did not have a strong community. I was really alone, just kind of re-engaging back with my family. And that kind of just took a spin on itself. And going through thinking about not having food or having canned food, or I remember trying to apply for welfare when I was 20, and they were like, oh, well, you have a job. At that time, I was making like anywhere from $11 to $13 an hour working part-time security. And it's like, yeah, I have a job, but I'm still struggling, right? All my money is going towards my bills. So they offered me $16 on food stamps, and I turned that down. I said, no, what am I going to do with that? Right. So, did whatever I could to, make it shake, make things work. And I remember just having food, but that food going to my child. So I told myself, if I ever get in a position where I can do more, I can be, more to someone else that, may have gone through what I gone through. As a young mom, I wanted to do that. So I kind of put that on my shoulder, right, as being like my guide to continue doing the work that I'm doing. And I feel like every year since then, right, it's been well over 16 years that I've been progressing, in that movement. How can I help families? How can I help with resources? How can I bring people together? How can I, find opportunities where maybe somebody has a vision and I can tie those opportunities back together with somebody I know who is moving into work and give them mentorship. So, every little segment, every little piece of the puzzle over 16 years has came together in the way that I want to. And I'm only just getting started. I'm still young. I feel like I'm still in my prime, and, it's only up from here. So that's really just been kind of the segue to keep me going, and how I started into really figuring out like community is what I wanted to do.
No, I love that. And I feel like a lot can be, they say that you can move mountains, right? When you have a strong why.
Right.
And it sounds like, actually, it's my first time hearing that part of your story. And that makes so much sense of why you're very passionate about the work that you do. And it's like, yeah, no, we there's no BS around or tolerated in this. It's a lot of progress. And no, I love that.
Let me add to that real quick too, because now like you really done spark that whole like I'm going down memory lane. And I even think about, we talked a little bit earlier about technology, right? And I'm thinking about, I didn't even have the skills to even consider going for a different position. I told you that I was making $11 to $13 an hour doing contract security. I was sitting behind a desk and controlling a building. And that's not really what I wanted to do. My undergrad is in social services. I have an MBA as well. And I was just telling my fiance yesterday, I said, babe, I'm going to be a doctorate, a doctor in a year, right? A year from like this year, this time, I will have completed my doctorate degree. And I've gone to school throughout my daughter's entire life. And it's been difficult, but wanting to see that change and wanting to be competitive, I said, ain't nobody else going to do it for me. So I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let anybody stop me from doing this and that and this all at the same time. I'm going to get it the way I know how.
I love it. And that's one of those things that you can't teach. I feel like, being drive is what I'm referring to. And I run into that a lot in my industry and on the creative side, where I'm like, I had a similar route in the sense of I didn't really have a clear route. I didn't really have that clear mentorship. I knew I wanted to do it. And it was like, all right, well, you ain't going to do it. I'm going to do it myself. I'll figure it out. I'll find a way. But then I've been big on giving back and pulling people with me, where it's like, man, if it took me 18 months, I want you to do it in 6, right? And let's shorten that curve and I'm going to kick that door open and hold it open for these next folks to come through. But I always tell everyone, it's like, I can't want it for you more than you want it for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just believe in that fuel. I was watching Mike Epps' Delusional last night, right? I don't know if you've seen it. And for those that are tuning in, definitely take advantage of that. Watch that, because he starts to pour into like how he was homeless, how, he was on drugs. And then it was just people by way of blessing him. He stayed in somebody's basement. He moved from one location to another. And just the definition that he gave behind the word delusional, like going back to what you said, like you have to be a little delusional in order to embark on, something that people are telling you that is impossible. Right. And that's how success, comes to be.
No, that's true. I always tell people I have a healthy or unhealthy appetite of optimism. And you kind of have to, like, to the point of like, I don't even know if it's going to happen, but I just believe it will.
You got to.
Like we won't figure out a way.
Right.
And I'm big on the pivot as well. Like I said, we had gotten into contact, I think, slightly before COVID and then through COVID, and saw all these different pivots and things. And, you saw like my journey with the Converge Media of like, all right, well, we're shut down in this way, but let's just do this, this podcast and help get this word out and do that. And speaking of, I wanted to also give a moment for folks that might not know what you guys do down at the CDCPDA, of what you guys are doing, how people can either benefit from resources, trainings, etc., or how they can tap in, in terms of volunteering and other things.
Yeah. So the Central District Community Preservation and Development Authority, also known as the CDCPDA, very much long, and I did not have no way of shaping that name, is a plethora of a multitude of different things. What I like to call myself sometimes is a multi-potentialite. Right. And it's somebody who has potential or the motivation to do a little bit of everything. And that's what the PDA is. That's what the hub is, the McKinney Center. The building is 51 years old. And I think people count it out because it's so old. You see aesthetics, you see makeup. Oh, it's on a new building, in Seattle. It doesn't have to be new. If you come in with that vision, you can repurpose a space in that building, and it's infinite rooms. There's infinite spaces in that building. There's rooms within rooms where you can just, if you have that artistic ability, you can really, take something and redesign it the way you know how. And that's what all of our tenants so far have been coming in and doing. They've been seeing the vision long-term about from what that building can be. Unfortunately, we've had, some tagging. We've had some people try to break in. We've had to put signs around the building, letting people know it's Black owned, it's community owned, right? Don't bring any harm to this building. And sometimes that's easier said than done, right? Because people don't see that. We have young kids across the street, young kids in community who don't have those skill sets to know that, this is not something that, or a building I want to play at. This is a place where, is going to be in our community and maybe even at some point be with me for the next couple of years. So, we're not only property management, and we're not necessarily giving out resources right now, but they will come. But we're just really finding ways to optimize our partnerships, right? Partnerships with Elite, partnerships with like Delta Dental, or, with some of the other very, not known, but also unknown, or organizations and community that want to do more and kind of find their way back home. It's been word of mouth. We have tenants there who have been sharing that the building is open. I remember coming into the building back in 2020, after a couple months after the PDA was formed, the board was formed, and it was vacant. I mean, it was vacant and it was in disarray. I mean, to the point there were bugs in the building. And it made me sad that somebody would, this building was built by Black people, by brown people. And this is what you do with it, right? So it's been a learning curve. I feel like I spend a lot of time just staying awake at night, trying to think about like the next couple of months or the next couple of years, or where we're going to be, or how can I do more? How can I, support my staff? And I have a team of 5, including myself. And the team is sharp. The team is doing a lot. I have people who love this work so much that they would rather do this than anything else. And I like to pour into that. Matter of fact, I sent my team emails yesterday talking about, wellness, and talking about pushing them, outside of their comfort zones, because I can't do this work forever. I've been CEO now for 2 years. It'll be 3 in August. And at some point I want to leave a legacy where, our babies, right? You have a son, I have a daughter, I have a baby as well, where they can be the next generation to take over something and do and see what their parents are doing and do that. So again, it's mixed use as a community hub. And we're just trying to pour life back into the building. There's other possibilities, other conversations on the horizon about what the building would be, what we're going to do with the parking lot. I could tell you my vision, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Because this is a community building. So it's going to take not only what I discussed earlier, which is that feasibility study, to bring in the data, to bring in the information we need in order to make that decision with our community, but also their voices as well. So it's mixed use.
I love that. Also, I want to give some love and light to some of the things that are happening and other people that are assisting in that happening. You talked about the feasibility statement. I know that's just a big word that sounds expensive. Can you give a little bit light of like community partnership and how that was able to come together?
So now president of the council, but council member Joy Hollingsworth helped to, just by way of conversation.
Shout out to Councilman Joy. Come on.
Right. She came in and seen the vision. I mean, she's from community, so she already knew what was there, what was going on. And we discussed and shared the need. And rather than, spinning the block, spinning us around, she said, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what she did. So, and she did more than enough, right? Which is super amazing. So now we're working with somebody that, already had, their assessment, I guess, done through the city. It's a city contractor, city organization, but they've been reaching out to us. Their people have been amazing. And they're bringing somebody in, some resources in to do that feasibility study so we can get, like I said, the data collected about what should the use of the parking lot be. And it stretched even more to the building. So some of the spaces in the building, the 5th and 6th floor, which are currently unoccupied right now, and need like ADA work done, some restroom work done as well. They're coming in and they're going to assess that and say, well, this is what we think you all should to do. And then we take that data. We have a community town hall, community meeting, and also we use our platforms like the media, and we share what that data is so we can get people to the table to make decisions.
I love that. And it takes a community, right?
Yes, it does.
To be able to make that happen. You have folks that do the day-to-day, your team, but we need folks to tap in with ideas, with just, being able to show up. So outside of that, we have a feasibility statement and work being done with that. But then also you guys have, let's talk about like the frequency of your meetings that you open up to public. Because a lot of people will get on Facebook talking about what we ain't doing, but it's like, man, are you showing, was you there Wednesday?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
And I love that you brought that up.
Let's talk about like the frequency of your meetings that you open up to public. Because a lot of people will get on Facebook talking about what we ain't doing, but it's like, man, are you showing, was you there Wednesday?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
And I love that you brought that up, because for a long time, actually most recently, we had word being spread, outside of the PDA about what was happening in the PDA. And I always say, you're going to learn more about coming to the source, or when you come to the source. So we have our open public meetings every 3rd Wednesday.
Like open.
Like
let's
anybody can join.
Let's take a moment. Tell me, because I know we've had this extensive conversation, but for the people, being the type of organization you are,
right,
the public facing side of it, can you share a little bit about
Absolutely.
that?
So the Central District Community Preservation and Development Authority is a quasi-governmental entity that was created by state legislation. We are not a nonprofit. We are not a for-profit. We are something very much in between. We're kind of mixed. So we have a fiscal agent, and we've actually thought about creating our own nonprofit within the PDA, but we know that that is going to require bodies. It's going to require a lot of research, and it is also very time consuming and difficult. So we have a fiscal sponsorship through the Seattle Park Foundation. But again, because of the type of agency we are subject to state law, state and procedure. So Robert Rules of Order is something that we utilize a lot of time, but OPMA, Open Public Meetings Act, or the PRA, Public Records Act, are kind of what our foundation is based on. And you can look that up, you can Google it. But a lot of government organizations do conduct their meetings in such way. So it's open to anybody. It is hybrid. We have people who show up to the building, they sit in our conference room, they can tap in from the meeting that way, or they can join us hybrid. We always are sharing that information on our social medias as well. So our LinkedIn, as well as our Instagram, as well as our Facebook, on what those details are in order to join us. It's a 2-hour meeting, but we get a lot done, and there's a lot of there is a open public discussion from our community. If folks want to learn how to collaborate, if they want to do a tour, if they're looking to join the board, if they want a meeting with me, like what does that look like? And that is the forum where we do it.
No, I love that. So what I'm hearing is there's multiple ways to tap in, and you do those monthly?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So,
and there are special meetings too. So sometimes based off of, there is like a community, like a committee that's created by the board. If the board is at quorum, then that requires a special meeting that will need to be shared and marketed within 24 hours of that actual meeting. So there are some that are just ad hoc, but the majority of our meetings are once a month, third Wednesday, 6 to 8.
No, I love that. And at the building, in the CD and or Zoom. So there's multiple ways to tap in.
Yep.
And I mean, I know this because we've talked offline about it, but you welcome the outside idea. You want, like you're saying, we have this parking lot. It doesn't matter what I want to do. Come and share. Like,
Absolutely.
What do we want to do? Do we want,
Absolutely.
A community Black vendor village? Do we want more affordable housing? Like, what does the community need?
Yep.
Come on Wednesday, share those ideas, and let's come to a solution together.
Absolutely.
So no, I love that. Then I want to have a little bit of time for the MLK Coalition, another hat that you wear. We had a very successful MLK. I think it was the largest one that you guys have had in terms of like full activations with the resource fair and the march and everything. We talk a little bit about that, and then also I want to end with how people can get involved, because a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, really? It's MLK Day. Come on.
So it's hard to believe that MLK Day was a little bit over a week ago. I feel like it seems like it is every day, just because outside of the actual event, in the thick of things with planning. So the planning season takes place like kind of mid-year with the executive team, that is. And then we meet with the full planning team around August or September. And then that goes through February. It's our 43rd annual celebration. Obviously, we're the only county named after Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are the largest celebrating organization here on the West Coast. And it may be actually, I've seen some really big ones around the world. So I think we're getting up there and competitive with the numbers. But this year was really huge. I've been chairing for 8 years now. And I say that I actually been a part of the coalition for longer than that, actually 16 years. So around the time my daughter was born, I got involved in this work. I've been chairing for 8, and this year was the first year I was really able to go and witness like some of the other core activations. Like I went to our Young Leaders event, which took place that Saturday at Washington Hall. There was a panel, there was spoken word. And then Monday came, and then we had our opportunity fair. We had our workshops. I mean, they were giving out gift cards. I mean, there were people like in the resume room that were getting jobs on the spot, having their resumes reviewed. There were over 62 organizations. And I know that because I have to order all the tables every year, right? But we had some people who came in who were in the hallway too at Garfield, who just wanted to be there to share what they were doing in community and give out resources. And it is completely packed from the time that they open the doors at 8:30 up until 11:30 when people start going over to the gymnasium for the annual rally. And even the rally itself, it started at 9. We had Double Dutch Divas there giving, energy, bringing in families just to do some community exercising. Our actual rally started at 11. We marched down to the federal building. That was a big hit. I mean, there was an organization there that had a huge Declaration of Independence, right? Like in the streets. So, I mean, it was an amazing event. We partner with, community people that are in the food business and community to bring their food trucks out. Azels has been a partner for years. We partner with Mo Vegan as well. UW Athletics team brought in like pastries and breakfast. So there was a big breakfast for volunteers. United Way of King County has also been an extreme collaborator of that event as well. So they handle all of our back-end volunteer registration work, as well as they give a sponsorship every year for anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000. And don't get me started on the number of donations came in. We had well over 171 online donations, which was a peak from last year of over 47%. And then they still keep coming in the actual event. We always share that this is grassroots, it's community led. Nobody gets paid to do this work. So we're just doing it because it needs to be done, and people are continuing to donate. We have a internship program that I was a co-founder of that we weaved into this organization. And why? Because myself and Bobby Alexander, who was a really good friend of mine, decided that we couldn't at that time be the only young people doing this work. So we bring anywhere from 2 to 6 young people from all over South King County. We reach out to the schools, they send in their applications. We do reference checks with the schools as well. And they have their own event that they plan. And then they also come and participate on the day of. So, it is an outlet that is stretched far and wide. We are eventually going to do a name change because we're not just Seattle. We're all of King County. We get people from all over the world that come and tune in. It's live streamed through Rainier Avenue Radio. We work with someone who does closed captioning as well for those who cannot join. So there's so much involved.
I love that. And I I have fond memories of my mom having me on her shoulder at like 3 months old, or no, I'd have been almost a year. So probably 11 months of doing the march. So it's like, it's been something that's been a part of, weaved into the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and beyond. I love that you guys are looking to be more inclusive, especially how our historically Black and brown folks from historic or legacy Seattle have been, pushed out. So it's like, man, we still got a home here.
Yep.
Come on
and
down.
Those are the people who have started this organization are the ones who are still coming back, the ones who are still bringing in funding, the ones who are showing up every year and helping us really tell the history behind the event. They're my mentors, they're community leaders and community mentors. And that really is what it's about. I will say that after Larry Gossett stepped down, Bobby Alexander was the first young coalition chair for about a year. And then I stepped in and I was the first woman to take it over. So it's been an interesting couple of years, but to have my daughter now, who was just an intern this past year, she was able to participate. That's the type of legacy that I'm trying to leave. She knows what mom is doing and I'm doing this. And it was amazing to see her in actual meetings, right? Doing homework and then on coalition meetings at the same time. So it's like, I'm looking in the mirror at this point.
I love that. Yeah. Cause how you be multitasking with everything. She's doing the exact same thing. No, that's fantastic. So we talked about the event itself, amazing. Just the participation, awesome. The resources.
Go for it. Over 7,000 people.
Love it.
Over 7,000 people attended that event. And I think we're still getting information on numbers and feedback from our community, especially for those that participated in the opportunity fair. And we'll get that data out soon on how many people were actually given a job that day. So we'll put that on our social medias as well.
I love that. And then talk about funding. Obviously, always can continue to give. It's a year-round endeavor. But and then in terms of folks, when should they look out to volunteer? Sounds like United Way is helping
absolutely
to manage that. But like, where do they do it, and when should they look out to do it?
So there's 2 parts to it. So we want people to join our planning team, which is not a part of the day of volunteer activations. So if you're interested in joining our planning team, which again starts around August, we meet every other Tuesday, and it's really from 6:30 to 8. Actually 8:30, so it's 2 hours long just because we usually have a long agenda. I will say this past year was actually really great because all of our meetings took place well within like an hour and a half. But you can tap in to our website at www.seattlemlkcoalition.org, all together, all one word, or you can email us at mlkseattle@gmail.com. And then from there, we take that information. You just say, hey, I want to subscribe, I want to join. And then we put you into our email list, and then we send out comms as we're leading into our planning season so that we can invite you to join our meetings exclusively.
Excellent. And then for folks that are like, hey, I don't have the capacity to do the weekly planning, but I want to do my part When do those volunteers check in?
So United Way will open up volunteer opportunities around December, and then they'll put that on their website, and we will also cascade that, on our social medias.
Excellent. So probably the best thing to do is tap in with you guys, get on the mailing list.
Yep.
So at least you are finding out when these things are happening, and then you can choose on how you can tap in. And,
absolutely.
And when you can get your kids to tap in and all the above.
Yes.
No, I love that. Okay, I'm going to dive into our quick fire round. So quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
Central District in one word.
Culture.
Love it. Your go-to comfort food spot in the city.
Man, as of late, it's been Wally's.
There we go.
Which Shout out to Wally's, man. Yeah, I had that on King Day, and I needed it.
Now Wally's doing great things over there on Jackson. A Black leader you look up to, living or past?
I mentioned it earlier, but I will say again, Lanisha DeBartoleten. That was an inspiration for me. And when I had moments of wanting to give up, because I think we all go through that, just being, vocally critical of like, wellness is everything. She was sending me prayers and text messages and saying, you're a divine woman, you're a strong leader, you are magnificent. And sometimes we need that, right? Without people even feeling like they have to do it. They do it because they have a love for people and love for community.
No, I love that. A book organizer or a leader should read?
Man, I'm going to pass on that.
Okay, no worries.
I can't even tell you. I just started another book, but it's more so for personal.
Yeah.
And it's really just learning how to get rid of old habits or bad habits. So I can't even tell you, right? Because I have a bookcase full of books. And I don't think, I love learning. I don't think one book can really just sum up how I feel.
No, I feel that. So the answer is all of them.
All right.
Keep on learning, keep on reading.
Right.
What's a dream collaboration for you? And you can pick any of the orgs.
An org or a person?
No, I mean, you can speak as if you were any of the orgs of someone or something you'd like to collaborate.
I mean, of course I want to collaborate with the Obamas. We always talk about still our president, right? I've been watching a lot of what's been happening around the world, like a lot of us have been, and just seeing how some of our past presidents are tapping in to really bring advocacy around the reality of what's happening in our communities versus what our current government is doing is putting a mask over it. We all haven't seen what's been going on. So I love that. That's just one, though. I think there's so many others, but from a collaboration standpoint, just locally, I want to work with everybody. Right?
Tap in.
I want to tap in with everybody.
I love it. I love it. Who's inspiring you right now?
My kids, my family, right?
My baby smile.
I know. I prayed for my son.
She has the cutest son.
Yeah,
period.
I prayed for my son. I thought my daughter was going to be a boy. I raised my baby brothers, right? And God was like, nope, it's a girl. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? I had her boy name picked out before her name. And like I said, I prayed for my son and I got my son, and I feel complete, because when he sees me, it's that's my little guy, know, and my daughter is the best big sister. So definitely my kids, definitely my family.
Love it. And do you have what's that song right now that gets you going or get you through?
Well, I will say a really good friend of mine who also I work with sent me a link several months ago to a YouTube. It's like what do you call it? It's like a list of music. It's a song list, and it's all gospel, right? And it's harmonized in a way where it's a cappella. And I've had moments where I'm getting up in the morning and I'm listening and I'm getting myself together and I'm crying just because I feel so attached to the music. And, for me, faith is everything. Without God, I would not be here. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be, fueled to go out into the community every day, not knowing what's going to come next. So again, it's gospel. It's that's able to speak to me. I mean, I love music, period, right? I love all types of music too. I should say that. But when I'm really going through or when I really need that boost of inspiration, that's what I get started with, just humbling myself to listen to that and knowing that I'm ready to go out and face whatever it is that comes my way. And you brought up one thing, and I'm going to bring it back. Every morning I wake up and I read a devotional, right? I don't really express that. I've been doing it for 2 years now, right? Every morning, even before I came here today, I read a devotional, and that's the kickoff to my day. So
I love it, having that routine.
Yep.
Well, thank you for sitting down and sharing what you guys have going on, what you're doing. Hopefully folks can get something out of this. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? The whole point is to give those insights. So if you're
absolutely.
an org that's ready to scale up, she went from no employees to having five, and they're able to, force multiply the work and the impact they're doing. Sometimes it can be tough to have a volunteer army.
Yep,
At some point it's like, all right, we need some folks that can for real dedicate. This is their daily mission,
yep,
and you have to kind of talk to your team, your volunteers, your board, if you have one, and see when that moment is there, finding those partnerships, those community folks that are doing similar type of work, or maybe they can help you with, like, I think ours organically came together for that storytelling, help
yep,
get the word out of what you guys are doing. And just look to grow and look to tap into what's around you. You could be that creative that's like, man, I want to do work like that. Like, man, I'm sure there's a community organization in your zip code that
absolutely.
could benefit from that skill set that you have, if it's social media or video or whatever.
Mhm.
So there's always a pathway of, like, I always say, like, if you start with service and you're doing something that you love, but don't start with what am I getting out of this? It's like, man, I have this gift. It was given to me. I
Yep,
didn't earn it. It was given to me. How can I share? Right. And then
absolutely.
so much can come from that. And when you lead that way with not what can I get out of it, but what can I give,
Mhm.
it'll come back around. You'll
Knowing
deal
that
with
it's
some
gonna be
knuckleheads,
difficult too.
but it'll come back
And
around.
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, community work is the hardest work you can ever do. Being a business owner, being a Black business owner, a brown business owner is some of the hardest work people will ever have to do, right? But again, it's just that leap of faith. And then really just understanding, like, that's why I say I go into prayer and devotion, because I don't know what I'm gonna be faced with, especially when you deal with community, because it's just so raw,
Hmm.
right? So just something really to think about.
Well, awesome. Thanks again, guys, for tapping in. If you feel like anyone could benefit from everything that we talked about, please share it with them. Give us a tag, a comment, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.